Good afternoon. Before I get started today, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. You don't know what it means to me. And I know Marcia would be absolutely treasure your presence. Marcia and my marriage with Marcia were indescribable in some very unique ways, which makes it difficult for me to effectively convey what she and God meant to me in this short celebration program. But I have decided to try. Marcia and I met each other across the street at the church singles group in March 1993. I had committed my life to a relationship with Jesus Christ just 2 weeks earlier. She, on the other hand, had made the same commitment some 35 years earlier at the age of 4.5. I let her know that I was researching America to move out of state. In the meantime, we began to date casually. What I would not know until some 10 years later was that Marcia wanted to marry me after our second meeting, which was our first date. I moved to North Carolina, but we stayed in touch regularly by phone until 1999, when Marcia felt she could no longer be just friends. Then in June 2002, I contacted Marcia to see if we might start a committed relationship if I moved back to California. After much prayer, she said, okay. Doing so, however, required Marcia to forego an initial registration deposit of $500 for the processing of an adoption of 2 then unspecified foster children. We married on June 21st, 2003. Our marriage was very challenging during our first year and a half or so of marriage. We both had been single for most of our lives and were in our mid to late 40s. We prayed to God for strength, wisdom, and understanding. At the beginning of 2005, we made a specific commitment to honor God by cherishing each other daily in very tangible ways. We decided to recognize and verbalize every quality of the other person, be it spiritual, emotional, or physical. This was easier for Marcia. She's all heart. For me, it was tedious, but I stayed the course. Within 9 months to a year, our marriage was more than either of us could have imagined. God had indeed delivered. Soon this habit became part of us, and our marriage would never be the same again. Towards the end of 2004, we began remodeling Marcia's cute condo ourselves in preparation for selling it and getting a 3-bedroom home in order to adopt children. In June 2005, we marketed and sold Marcia's condo ourselves and bought a house in Placentia so that we could adopt 2 children from Russia. By 2006, we had adopted our lovely daughter. Where is she? Lisa Elizabeth. By June 2007, we had adopted our adorable son, Nathan Alexander. About 3 weeks later, Marcia was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, which would soon be re-diagnosed as colon cancer. This is where it gets extremely difficult for me to even be able to put into words who Marcia was, how we loved each other and God, and what she meant to me. Marcia's life was focused on Jesus Christ and generally everybody else but her. She was selfless and extremely content with who she was. She cherished being there for her children, for me. For her family and her friends, her students, and people were hurting or in need. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. The night I proposed marriage to Marcia, she was not expecting me to show up at her condo. When she opened her front door to me, she was wearing a Mickey Mouse cooking apron, flour all over her blouse, and tousled hair. I thought she looked simply adorable. But what she had been doing in the kitchen was what she had done from 1992 to this past Thanksgiving season. Make a 20-pound turkey, cook up most of the accompanying fixings, and bring them to school with a table set with traditional pilgrim decorations made by our third graders. They would have what she called a Thanksgiving feast, because many of her students would not experience one in their own homes. I believe strongly that Marcia's most unique quality was not simply that she was one big heart, but that her heart was indeed the heart of a child. I have always contended a 3 or a 4-year-old. As adults, most of us transition from childhood to adulthood, leaving behind a significant portion of our childhood heart in the transition. Marcia never did. God had indeed gifted her. She got more out of life than anybody I've ever met. She came to Christ as a child, but more importantly, like a child. So for a moment, think about the following in the context of Marcia. Who laughs more, a child or an adult? Who smiles more and bigger, a child or an adult? Who loves easier, a child or an adult? Who's more open-hearted, a child or an adult? Who's more sensitive? Who's sillier and goofier? Who has more fun? Who lives life without pretense? Who gets embarrassed, a 3-year-old or an adult?